Because the 12 steps are not a program for quitting drinking, it is easy to change them into something else that is not a program for getting off of drugs, or not a program for avoiding overeating, or not a program for fixing whatever else you don't like. Just edit step 1 and change the words powerless over alcohol to powerless over our addiction, or powerless over our food compulsion, or whatever else you want to be powerless over. And then edit step 12 and change the word alcoholics to addicts or overeaters or whatever, and hey presto, you have a new spiritual program for unsuccessfully treating some other problem or spiritual disease. I hear that there are now over 200 of these clone 12-step programs, intended to cure or not cure, but treat just about everything imaginable. Some of them sound pretty wild, like artists in recovery, or partners of sexaholics. The last time we had a universal medicine that would cure so many different ailments, it was the snake oil sold by the traveling medicine shows. The rest of the program, besides those words in steps 1 and 12, is always the same. In fact, in most all of the 12-step programs, steps 2 through 11 are word for word identical to the Alcoholics Anonymous steps. Admit that you are powerless over your problem, and that your life had become unmanageable. Come to believe that only a power greater than yourself, God, can save you, restore you to sanity. Surrender your will and your life to the control of the group's old-timers and God as you misunderstand Him. Perform a searching and fearless moral inventory to find and list all of your defects of character and moral shortcomings, and then confess the exact nature of your wrongs to your sponsor and to God. Ask God to perform soul surgery on you and fix you by removing all of your defects of character and moral shortcomings. Make amends to all whom you have harmed. Repeat the above steps endlessly for the rest of your life, and always promptly admit when you are wrong. Seek, through prayer and meditation, to make conscious contact with God, that is, conduct to essence where you sit quietly and listen for the voice of God to talk to you and dictate your work orders to you. Pray for the power to carry out those orders. Go do whatever the voices in your head tell you to do. That is not a joke. Claim that you have gotten a spiritual experience, or a spiritual awakening, from doing the previous 11 steps. Carry the message to anyone else who will listen. Make religious converts out of everyone else that you can dash and somehow practice the above so-called principles in all of your affairs. Notice the funny mix of so-called spiritual diseases. There, you can cure some of them just by changing your behavior, like alcoholism, narcotics, smoking, overeating, sex addiction, gambling, cocaine, or being a compulsive shopper or a clutterer. But the others are not what we might call voluntary diseases. You cannot just voluntarily quit having high blood pressure, diabetes, hepatitis C, chronic illness, dual disorder, i.e., having both mental and drug or alcohol problems, or schizophrenia. So I really want to hear how listing and confessing all of your sins, moral shortcomings, and defects of character will cure those diseases. Someone could have to be pretty crazy to think that doing the 12 steps, performing a searching and fearless moral inventory, and confessing all of his sins, is going to cure mental illnesses like schizophrenia and compulsive obsessive disorders. But, come to think of it, that's just how the game works, isn't it? Go find sick, vulnerable people who are suffering, whose minds aren't too clear, and exploit their weaknesses and talk them into joining a cult religion while telling them that this magical 12-step program will heal what ails them.